I got to thinking earlier today, since everybody wants everybody to release stuff. Excuse me 1 second. Yes, I got to thinking. Apologize for that. I'm calling on Barack Obama to release the names of the drug dealers from whom he bought his drugs all those years when he was a pothead, self-identified. You know, somebody with children, and my children are older now, but that said, I don't think it's funny when he goes on Jay Leno and jokes about his past pot use. Why, of course I inhale. That's the point. Really? Tell me, who'd you get these drugs from? While we're digging into Bain Capital. Who are your drug dealers? What were their names? Where'd you get it from? I just want to know. We have a right to know. I mean, after all, he's running for president. He is the president. We have these rights to know these things. And I got to thinking about something else overnight. I think you've heard this audio a few times, maybe a few hundred times by now. But when a president of the United States is sounding like Karl Marx, I think it's important that we play the audio. But I have a new thought on this, in addition to all the brilliance that I've already expressed. I'm just kidding. But I do have a new thought. Mr. Producer, play that clip. Go.
If you've been successful, you didn't get there on your own. You didn't get there on your own. I'm always struck by people who think, well, it must be because I was just so smart. There are a lot of smart people out there. It must be because I worked harder than everybody else. Let me tell you something. There are a whole bunch of hard-working people out there. If you were successful, somebody along the line gave you some help. There was a great teacher somewhere in your life. Somebody helped to create this unbelievable American system that we had that allowed you to thrive. Somebody invested in roads and bridges. If you got a business, you didn't build that.
All right, let me stop right there. Absolute brilliance on his part, as we've talked about before. Do they have roads and bridges in Cuba? Do they have roads and bridges in North Korea? Did they have roads and bridges in the old Soviet Union? Did they have roads and bridges in Nazi Germany? See the point, folks? There's a lot of repressive, hideous, genocidal regimes that produce roads and bridges. In fact, they're damn good at it. And yet, individuals are not successful. Individuals are, in essence, in prison. These countries, in many respects, are prison camps. I was just thinking of another way to explain how outrageous Obama is and what he said, and how wrong what he said is. Yes, we need roads and bridges. But the roads and bridges are the consequence in our society of a vigorous and thriving people. That's why we need and want roads and bridges. In other societies, they have roads and bridges for use by the state police and the military. So what's the point? The point is that he attacks the distinction that exists in our country. Individual self-worth, individual sovereignty, private property rights, success, wealth creation, creating opportunities and jobs, a vibrant, voluntary system of economic, cultural, social interactions. That's what he's attacking. You think you're so smart? You think you work so hard? Well, we give you the roads and bridges. They have roads and bridges in North Korea and they're starving to death. Get my point? It's not about roads and bridges. It's about people. It's about individuals. It's about individuals pursuing their God-given right. That is, to live free and to pursue happiness, to pursue what motivates them. And you can't do that when you're drowning in red tape and red ink. Now, I think that explains, with an exclamation point, more about why Obama's off his rocker than anything else. Oh, by the way, though, did you know that Ann Romney has a horse? Oh, yes. Obama's spending millions of dollars to inform you of this fact, to show that they're out of touch. Well, let me ask you about that, too. Obama's raised by his grandparents because his Kenyan communist, disgusting father, who was not only a drunk, but a womanizer, left the country and went back to Kenya to try and overthrow that government. Apparently had an accident and died. His mother, who was a left-wing hippie type, pretty much left it to the grandparents to raise him. There he is in Hawaii. So far, do you have a connection with this? I'm just curious because Obama wants you to think you have no connection to Romney and how he lives, but apparently you have a connection to Obama and how he was raised and lives, right? So I just want to go through this quickly. As a young man, he's indoctrinated by a communist, and apparently very successfully. He also writes about and brags about all the drugs he used. Enthusiastically, I think was the word he used, wasn't it, Mr. Producer? He was an enthusiastic little druggie. Cocaine, marijuana, maybe some other things. We don't know. But we know enough. And we know that his last 2 years in high school, he was so blasted he didn't know where he was. But he must have had great grades because he got into Occidental. So far, do you identify with this? I'm just curious because we know you don't identify with the Romneys, but do you identify with Barack Obama in his background so far? I'm just curious. Yes. He becomes a radical. We really don't know what he does in college or law school. That's a closely held national security secret. Unlike real national security secrets that are splashed on the front page of the New York Times, his background, in this respect, is under lock and key. Well, how did he get into these schools? We don't know. How well did he do in these schools? We don't know. What exactly did he do in these schools? We don't know. Oh, okay. So far, you connecting with the guy? I'm just curious. Because Obama's running a multi-million-dollar propaganda campaign to make sure you don't feel connected to the Romneys. But I just want to go through this a little bit further. So Obama, he doesn't like the law school experience much. He thinks it's kind of a law firm experience. He thinks that's a sellout. You know, it's working for the system. He's against the system. He wants to overthrow the system. How do we know that? Because he sat there like a bump on a log while the Right Reverend Jeremiah Wright was speechifying every Sunday about the Jews, about the Uncle Toms, about how hateful and awful America is, you know, that sort of stuff. And for 20 years, Obama was attracted to that kind of a preacher. Wright married the couple, baptized the kids. So far, you connecting with the guy? I just want to know. And, of course, Obama befriended two of the Weather Underground terrorists, Ayers and Dorn, who sought to blow up the Pentagon, and, among other things, and Khalidi, a mouthpiece for the PLO at the time. Is that what you would have done? Now, of course, what was Romney doing? He's working in business, raising a family, making some money, maybe putting a little away in a Swiss bank account here and there and so forth. But he wasn't hanging out with these people. He never sat in Jeremiah Wright's pews. He never befriended domestic terrorists. He didn't go out of his way to befriend the mouthpiece for the PLO. Somehow he got through all that without doing that. But Obama went in that direction. So let me just stop there. Do you have a connection with Obama in that respect? You don't? Who lives like this? Who was raised like this? This is why I got upset when the Romney people said, we're taking all that off the table. I said, well, you're taking what off the table? You don't take anything off the table. In fact, you put it on the table and you put a ribbon around it. Because Obama's the furthest thing from the way most of us were raised. His ideology is foreign to the ideology of most Americans, Democrats or Republicans. Most of us didn't grow up that way with the indoctrination. We didn't pursue radical terrorists. We didn't sit in churches or synagogues with filth like Wright up there spewing his poison. Did we? So who is it that actually was pursuing the American dream, and who was actually pursuing the destruction of America? And which one do you identify with most? Let's cut to the chase. Let's forget about the ridiculous tax returns, a bank account here or there, a horse. Forget about all that crap. I'm talking about the soul of these people and getting down to their character. And I'm right, aren't I? Yes, I am. I'll be right back. Can you identify with 100 rounds of golf? More by now. Can you identify with that? Ann Romney rides horses for therapy. But what explains Michelle Obama riding in all those limousines? What explains Barack Obama riding in those Greyhound-sized Canadian buses and the helicopters and the jumbo jets and all the lavish meals at the different vacation spots where they're not going this year? Notice that? They pretend that they're really not into the glitz, but they are, and they think you have a short memory. So what do you identify with more? A lady who is a cancer survivor, who has MS, who rides horses for therapy, or Michelle Obama, who flies around the world on jumbo jets with 300-400 of her closest friends, all glitzed up, having a grand old time on your dime? Which do you identify with? Or Barack Obama taking our jumbo jets, flying all over the country, repeatedly flying to Hollywood, meeting millionaires and billionaires there, or Ann Romney, who rides horses for therapy? Which do you identify with? Just curious. Because Obama wants us to make our decision based on that. See, here's the problem. Obama not only has a record as president with his policies, he has a record of abusing his office, not just the Constitution, his office, with all the golfing, with all the entertainment, with all the flying, with all the fundraisers, and all the rest of it.